Good afternoon. As of 12 o'clock on Sunday, June 1st, there are 15 active fires currently in Saskatchewan. 4 of those are contained, 8 are not contained, 2 are ongoing assessment, and 1 is listed as protecting values. Year to date in Saskatchewan, we have had 214 wildfires, which is well above the 5-year average of 129. The weather that we have been experiencing for the last number of days is expected to continue today and through the next number of days ahead of us. So that includes high temperatures during the day, warm evening temperatures, and high winds. This will drastically impact our ability to contain some of these fires and will actually cause some of these fires to grow in size over the next period of time. We have had little or no precipitation in weeks in the areas that the fires are burning. The province has received precipitation, but it has been in areas that are not the area of concern. For instance, last night in the far northwest corner, and so we had some areas that got 30 millimeters of rain, which would be much appreciated if it was in the right location, but that has not yet occurred. So I'll quickly go over the fires of concern and fires of note. Largest fire in the province, currently listed as 305,000 is the Shoe Fire. I can acknowledge that currently, based on our thermal imaging, this fire has significantly grown overnight, but we have yet to map that area and increase the size. That is common that through our satellite imaging, we can see where fires have grown based on heat signatures, but that does not necessarily mean that the fire actually grew on the ground. It may actually be just the hot air and column generated by the fire that's being mapped as it's pushed in the wind. It may actually not be. So we always have a delay before we can quantify. So if folks are wondering why there's often delays in size, that's the reason. The Shoe Fire has now moved to the north, and functionally we are now closing 165, Highway 165 that joins across to Highway 2 North. The communities of East Trout Lake, Whalen Bay, Narrow Hills, and Little Bear all have been impacted by this fire and are on evacuation alert. The J. Smith Fire, which is northeast of Mississippi on Highway 102, is impacting the highway in that location. It has also resulted in the evacuation of Brabant Lake community at this time. Size for that fire is estimated at 38,000 hectares. The Pisu Fire, which is west of La Ronge, has triggered the evacuation of Hall Lake. They have been in that situation for a number of days now. That fire is over 61,000 hectares. And currently we have the fire beside some of the roads, but no direct road closures at this time. Wolf Fire, which is west of Danair Beach, has grown significantly, not yet mapped, well over 30,000 hectares. It has impacted Highway 106, and it has led to the full evacuation of the foreign nickel copper mine that remains evacuated because of the fire proximity. The Pelican Fire 2 Fire, which is adjacent to Pelican Narrows, again, it was aggressively moving last night to the south and somewhat to the east in most locations. Fire was listed at 9,000. That fire has grown significantly, so much larger than 9,000. It has led to the full evacuation of Pelican Narrows, restricts the highway access to Pelican Narrows and through Pelican Narrows to Sandy Bay. And SPSA is working with our partners in highways to ensure that we can move critical supplies and equipment along that highway, even if we have to guide them through the areas of heavy smoke and fire incursion next to the highway. The Club Fire, which is the large fire north of Creighton and Flin Flon, it's listed currently on our website as 25,000 hectares. That represents the portion in Saskatchewan only. This fire is extremely large on both sides of the border. The Saskatchewan side of estimate of 25,000 hectares will actually grow today based on fire activity overnight. Creighton, Flin Flon, and Danair Beach communities are all on evacuation alert and have been evacuated due to this fire and potential impacts to the highway access. The final fire of discussion for today is the ditch fire that is north of Wildfires. It is listed on our site as just under 10,000 hectares. That fire has likely doubled in size. Very aggressive fire behavior last night. It has led to partial closures and full closures depending on the time and the situation of Highway 2 that connects Prince Albert to Larange. And the community of Ramsey Bay and the community of Wildfires are evacuated due to this fire as well. Based on our fire activity and the weather I described earlier, the provincial fire ban continues in all the northern portions of the province and provincial parks in the area and all communities in the Northern Municipal Administration District. That also includes an ATV, UTV restriction as well, in the hopes to reduce further accidental fires from utilizing that equipment. We do want to acknowledge that there are a number of provincial partners all in play. We have a large number of our own staff, our partners with Indigenous communities, our contract community that have stepped forward to support us in some of these fire activities. And in addition to that, we have reached beyond our borders to request assistance, which has been provided quickly to us. So currently we have aircraft in this province to fight fire from Quebec, Alaska, and British Columbia. We have also asked for ground crews, and firefighting staff have already arrived from Nova Scotia, Northwest Territories, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, British Columbia, Yukon, and en route there are also resources coming from the state of Oregon and the state of Arizona. Active evacuations was noted. We now have 20 current evacuations. 2 more were added today. That would be the town of Timber Bay and the community of Malinosa. Both of those located on the east side of Montreal Lake. That our estimate for people that are evacuated are in the vicinity of 8,000. That number is not confirmed. It is an estimate because there is more than one entity managing evacuation. Some are doing it independently, some are voluntary, some are being handled by our Indigenous partners who are taking care of some of their own communities. So 8,000 is still the number. We hope that to keep that number stable, and even as we've seen in the last number of days, over 250 to 500 total people have returned to the village of Canoe Lake due to us holding a fire in that location. So they are returning home at this time. The other points to know is highway closures are happening. They are frequent, and we suggest through our work with the Ministry of Highways, please check with the Highways hotline. Those warnings and those restrictions are a requirement and are enforced by people at barricades. And it is to ensure public safety, does not put themselves in situations where the roads are unsafe or potentially unsafe for passage, or are restricted for emergency crews to use in the event that they have to move with critical equipment. Currently, we can also confirm, as we did yesterday, that more than 80 values, which is cabins, houses, sheds, and other assets, have been burned so far this year. We continue to monitor the fire edges and review those areas that were impacted to get more accurate counts and updates as best we can, subject to the fire behavior at this time. And the only other thing is that was mentioned previously is the fuel break adjacent to Highway 120 east of Candle Lake is progressing well with multiple pieces of heavy equipment, bulldozers, clearing that back to provide a potential barrier should the fire move towards that community. Stephanie, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Steve. So now we'll go into questions. So I see Edith, 1 question, please. Yes, we had quite a technical question. It was about how you measure the fire. So in your release notes, it's always like 300 or 3,000 hectare. We want to know if that is how many hectares are actively burning, or is it how many hectare were burned and are burning for the same fire.
So that is the total size of the fire. It will include all areas within the fire perimeter, those that are actively burning, those that may have burned previously. They may also include areas that are unburnt, but have been burnt around. So for instance, if there's a swamp or a small lake or a small pond in that area, unless it's a significant piece of water like a large lake, it is not subtracted. But you have to realize that even if the fire has burned there, it has not been extinguished. There is, at this time, been no activity deep into the center of those fires to ensure that they're 100% out. And that's why we will indicate the entire area in our fire estimate.
I have a follow-up.
Sorry, no follow-ups today.
Sorry.
So we have a hard stop at 2.
Thank you.
Sarah Jones.
Hi there, thanks. I just had a question about the evacuation order released today for the northern hamlet of Timber Bay. I know that it said that they're sending people to Regina here. I guess I'm just curious to see what sort of capacities were faced in the province in terms of hotels. I mean, it's a 5-hour drive away, kind of what that looks like if there's nothing closer, what we're seeing right now in terms of, those capacities for those centers and hotels.
So there's a number of factors considered. One of them is, again, what is the closest resource that typically can handle that evacuation? So in other words, our preference would be closest town, keeping entire communities and families intact. In the case in Saskatchewan now, we do see that we have pretty much occupied every available space right from the north all the way down to Weyburn. We've got evacuees there. We have even had the Canoe Lake individuals actually had to evacuate and move into Alberta at Cold Lake. So there's a number of factors. Obviously, it's not first come, first serve. We would try to disrupt people or remove them more than once. And it is often critical when we move people from their homes is that families do remain intact. Communities remain mostly intact where we can, because they're providing that emotional support for each other at the same time. And one of the other factors that may come in is there may be people in the community that, due to a medical concern, may actually have to be located by a medical facility, which may not be a requirement for other people in that community. So someone may, for instance, go to Prince Albert, but the remainder may have to go to Saskatoon, or in this case, it could be Moose Jaw.
And up next, Jillian Massey.
Hi. I'm just wondering how the wind is affecting your guys' operations and how it's making it harder.
Well, basically, in simple terms, the wind is fanning the flames. We have two factors. One is that the stronger the winds, the more oxygen it applies to these fires. It will cause them to get more intense and then push them through the forest material in the direction that the wind is moving. One of the other factors as well that we have to contend with is the wind is not constant. So over time, as weather systems move through the province and around the province, these winds will shift, and we will have to change our strategies and prepare for managing the fires that may have been very calm on the south side 3 days ago. But with a wind shift, now we may have to realize that the south side is going to be very active. So we will move resources to those areas to suppress, and we may ultimately have to move resources out of the way if it's very dynamic on that edge. So lots of factors. We have a weather unit right here in our agency that helps with that, providing forecasts at the fire level. So in other words, not the nearest town. They will actually do a calculation of the fire weather for each of these fires, broken down by hour for 18 hours. So we call it a spot forecast, and it allows the operational people to understand what will impact that fire over, sort of the next 3/4 of a day, including wind shifts, which can be dangerous for staff, can also change the tactics, and may result in us having to, for instance, plan for air support in certain areas that don't need it now, but will likely need it mid-afternoon this afternoon.
Nicole King.
Hi, thank you. I think you mentioned that the residents of Canoe Lake were told that they were safe to return back to their homes. Are you able to say how many residents that was and kind of the situation they're returning to, if any buildings or residences were burned down?
So I'll answer the second one. Our crews were able to contain that fire and prevent it from encroaching on the community, even though it did near the community. And the biggest concern is it was blocking the only access in and out of the community. Public Safety Agency, it was not the lead. It was Meadow Lake Tribal Council that managed the evacuation of those individuals, so they would have the exact numbers. We do not have those. They were not under our direct management.
Okay, thank you.
Olivier Pierre.
Hi, so the number of active fires seems to be lower. Is that due to fires being extinguished or some having merged?
We've actually, since the last 2 days, we've had 2 fires that have merged. A couple days ago, that was the Point Fire and the Pelican Fire. But we have also had a number of small fires that we had been monitoring after suppression activities. Now they have been secured, and we are assured that they are not going to continue to burn, that they're completely out, and we're removing those from the active fire roster.
Thank you.
Ashwarya.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to clarify if Creighton has been evacuated and how the fire around it is doing, how the community there or could be impacted.
Yes, there's an evacuation order for Flin Flon, Creighton, and Denier Beach. We do have crews, and they have their own emergency response people in the community at this time, including extra structural fire trucks to protect the community. And as needed, they've been bringing in air tanker support to keep that. At this point, we are not aware of the fire entering the community, but it is immediately adjacent. And they continue to firm up those lines to ensure that there is, they can try and hold that from having any structural loss in the community.
Okay, I don't see any more questions.
I have a question.
Oh.
I'm just not I'm on the phone.
Go ahead.
It's Michael Alexon from the Daily Herald. I was muted during the time that you said what the number of fires were. So that's just a clarification thing. But my actual question is, when do you think the fire guard at Candle Lake will be finished?
Okay, just an update. There's 15 active wildfires today, for your information.
No, the total number for over the entire fire period is what.
Sorry, 214 fires so far in 2025.
Okay, thank you. It was 215 yesterday, so good. Okay, and the other thing about the fire guard.
Yeah, the fire guard is making good progress. We don't have an exact time for completion. We are moving towards that. And it has to do with the type of material. Again, it's hard to estimate how long it will clear some. So the heavier the vegetation, the slower it goes. As they get to areas of lighter vegetation, they can make more headway. But both community members who have seen it and our own staff are quite happy with the amount of progress being made at this time. And they have already achieved a significant amount of work on that guard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And a reminder, we'll have another daily briefing tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. And have a safe rest of your day.